So the big mandate court case came to the Supreme Court, and it got covered like that on CBS. And here's Slate. So Slate covered it. I'm going to show you. Kurt, when you read this, did you think this article was a joke, or what did you think about this article? I thought this article had to be like it was in the Onion, but it wasn't. It's in Slate. Go ahead, Kurt.
Well, the part that got me the most was I think at the end of this string of tweets from the Slate article, because it's absurd. You have to go further in though to get to the part.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the tweet from Slate. It says, an anti-science hysteria was on full display during oral arguments. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to show you how the mainstream media has no room for any sort of nuance surrounding any debate around COVID, mandates, vaccines, anything. They have no room. That's it. It's black and white cult thinking, and they're dishonest, and they smear people. And I'm going to show you how they did it in this article. It's kind of stunning. So again, just like we're called anti-vaxxers, because we're against mandates. That's all it takes. Even though we tell people to get vaccinated if they're vulnerable, and that the vaccine will protect them from serious illness or death. We've always said that. We'll always say that. But they're going to call us anti-vax because we criticize Dr. Fauci's lies.
Tony Science.
An anti-science hysteria was on full display during oral arguments. Justice Sam Alito hounded the Solicitor General about the alleged risks of vaccines, while Justice Neil Gorsuch likened COVID-19 to the flu. So you see this as a hit piece already. You see this as a propaganda piece already about the alleged risks of vaccines. Well, there are risks. Everyone knows that. They're not alleged. That's bullshit. They're getting medical misinformation in their thing, and while they're crying about medical misinformation. It's not alleged. We know that there are.
I think they think small risk equals zero risk.
Well, so yeah. Okay. For instance, so here's what they're upset. So they go, an anti-science hysteria was on full display. You want to see what they call an anti-science? So this part, listen to this. For instance, Ohio Solicitor General Benjamin Flowers insisted that vaccines probably don't stop the spread or transmission since he himself has COVID-19 despite being vaccinated. So they're saying that's medical misinformation. What? The guy said vaccines probably don't stop the spread since I'm double vaccinated and I got it. And they say they're upset that that's medical misinformation. They're saying that's their Slate is actually misinforming you. And again, they go, and Gorsuch repeatedly likened COVID to the flu. They never mentioned Sotomayor blatant lying about the risks, but they do pretend that this is misinformation. This guy, the Solicitor General, said the vaccines probably don't spread. Well, here's what the FDA says. You want to know what the FDA? I'll read this to you. This is from the FDA. The FDA, I got this today from the FDA website. If a person has received the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, will the vaccine protect against transmission of the SARS-CoV-2 from individuals who are infected despite vaccination? The answer at the FDA is this. Most vaccines that protect from viral illnesses also reduce transmission of the virus that causes the disease by those who are vaccinated. While it is hoped this will be the case, the scientific community does not yet know if the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine will reduce such transmission. That's what the FDA says.
Do you hear the language is reduce? What Slate's doing, I mean, that seems very purposeful lying because he said it doesn't stop.
Yes, and it doesn't.
They were never claiming it stopped. They said slowed it. Maybe.
They're saying it might reduce the transmission, but they're not saying it stops it at all. And that's what the guy was correct when he said that. It doesn't stop it. They hope it reduces it, but it doesn't stop it. But they're giving that as an example of crazy misinformation when it's actually Slate who's giving you the crazy misinformation. Here's what the CDC says. I'll read it to you. Common questions. Does the COVID-19 vaccine prevent transmission? From the CDC, they say evidence suggests the U.S. COVID-19 vaccination program has substantially reduced the burden of disease in the United States by preventing serious illness in the fully vaccinated. Well, it feels like a flu. They say it's preventing serious illness. They don't say it's preventing transmission. That's not what that says. The next sentence says, people are in... I'll read it again. Evidence suggests the U.S. COVID-19 vaccination program has substantially reduced the burden of disease in the United States by preventing serious illness in fully vaccinated people and interrupting chains of transmission. So there is that word transmission. So that's what the CDC says, and that's what the FDA says. So again, I don't see stop anywhere in either of those. Now, can you catch COVID if you're vaccinated? Well, according to, again, this is the Lancet, they did a study. Patients were hospitalized at the Yale New Haven Health System between August 4th and October 12th, 2021. October, September. So that's like, what is that, 2 months? August, September, right? That's like 2 months. During which time SARS-CoV-2 Delta variant accounted for over 95% of the cases in the region. So they were all getting infected with Delta almost. And then among the 371 patients that were admitted to the Yale New Haven Health System in those 2 months, 371 of them had SARS-CoV-2. 129 of them, or 35% of them, were fully vaccinated at the time of hospitalization. That's from the Lancet. So it looks like those vaccines don't stop transmission. They may reduce it, but they certainly don't stop it. And that's the Slate says that's misinformation. That they point to that as misinformation. And believe me, that won't get censored from Twitter or Facebook. They'll never get a fact check. They'll never get a fact check. Never. It's
literally in the sentence that it doesn't stop it because he has COVID.
He has it.
Like he did the experiment.
He has it.
We know it doesn't stop it because he has it. Yeah.
And then Michael Tracy caught this. Oh, by the way, this is from the Washington State Department of Health. At a glance, from data from January 17th, 2021 to this year, there were 86,237 SARS-CoV-2 vaccine breakthrough cases. Just in Washington State alone, there were over 86,000 cases of people who were vaccinated who got COVID. So Slate doesn't know what they're talking about, or they're intentionally lying because they're funded by Big Pharma. Again, if you're getting your information from the establishment news about this, you're being propagandized to the hilt, lied to, and scaremongered. You're being lied to, and they're not telling you anything that you need to know, like how to get ready if you're going to catch COVID, because it's likely we're all going to catch COVID. Alito couldn't have been more... So Slate, Michael Tracy caught this. He goes, Alito couldn't have been more clear. He wasn't making any kind of anti-vax point. He was establishing that OSHA had never before imposed a regulation on workers that inflicts some risk of adverse health effects, however remote. But of course, gets smeared as anti-vax anyway. And I know. So here's Slate. If you don't agree with everything I say, you're anti-vax. And that's exactly what people do to me. And I'm gonna play for you. I sped this up. This is a recording of Alito's interaction over the mandates. And listen to what he says. Well, I'll show you it. Oh, I wish I could have played it for you. I got it. So this is the article. COVID is an emergency to Supreme Court justice conservatives. It's also an opportunity. Where the liberal justice sees sickness and death, the conservatives see a chance to crush government. So if you're against the mandate, you want to crush government. Who wrote this? Dahlia Lithwick and Mark Joseph Stern. Maybe Howard Stern's brother.
I just looked them up while you're talking. I was like, I have to just see what they look like.
Yeah. So luckily, Michael Tracy got the transcript, and I'll read it to you. So Alito says, Alito's argument was this. He was saying, now you're allowed to mandate a safety protocol on the job, but have you ever been able to mandate a safety protocol that a worker that a worker has to follow after they leave the job? And they said no. And he said, so that makes this a big difference than any other OSHA regulation you've ever done. You've never regulated how a worker acts outside the job place, right? And she was like, no. And he's like, so if you had a wand, and when a worker got to work and you waved a wand over them and they were vaccinated, and then when they left work, you wouldn't unwand them, that wouldn't be right? And she says, no, that wouldn't be right. So then he says, so that makes this different. And plus, he's going to say this, that there are adverse reactions sometimes. He says this, he goes, Justice Alito, all right, so it's different in that respect. Just what I just said to you. And here's another respect in which it may be different, meaning this mandate is different than any other OSHA regulation. And I don't want to be misunderstood. He says, I don't want to be misunderstood in making this point because I'm not saying the vaccines are unsafe. The FDA has approved them. It's found that they're safe. It says that the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. I'm not contesting that in any way. I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm sure I will be misunderstood. I just want to emphasize I'm not making that point. And here is fucking Slate magazine calling him an anti-vaxxer, fucking bullshit. It's crazy. Alito, these vaccines and every other vaccine of which I'm aware and many other medications have benefits, and they also have risks. Some people who are vaccinated and some people who take medication that is highly beneficial will suffer adverse consequences. They're calling that guy anti-vax for saying that. I'll show you. Michael Tracy also caught this. He said the Solicitor General of the United States, arguing in favor of the vax mandate, herself conceded that there is some degree of risk in taking the vaccine, which is exactly the point Alito was trying to establish. Is she also anti-vax? Here's the Solicitor General making the same point that Alito made that Slate calls him anti-vax for. Watch this. Justice Alito says, there is some risk. Do you dispute that? Is some risk to taking the vaccine? Do you dispute that? The general says this, there can be a minimal risk with respect to some individuals. Meaning, yes, there is a risk. But again, I would emphasize that I think that there would be no basis to think that these FDA-approved and authorized vaccines are not safe and effective. Alito goes, I'm not making that point. I tried to make it clear as I could. I'm not making that point. I'm not making that point. I'm not making that point.
Oh my God. Sounds like a bad marriage.
Yes.
That's not what I said.
This is how Slate reported that. The anti-vax sentiment surfaced in earnest when Alito hounded Pruglar about the risks of vaccines. He insisted that he didn't want to be misunderstood. I'm not saying that vaccines are unsafe. The FDA has approved them. It's found that they are safe. It says that the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. However, he then insisted some people will suffer adverse consequences because there is some risk.
Right.
Which is a factual statement that the Solicitor General also agreed to. Pruglar reiterated that the Food and Drug Administration has found vaccines are safe and effective by orders of magnitude because he now sounded like, this is Slate talking, because they're saying Alito now sounded like he was spreading anti-vax madness. Madness. They called what Alito said madness. Shame on you. Shame on you, lying propagandists of the highest order. Are you trying to get a job at MSNBC?
Can I read this quote, Jimmy, from one of the authors, Dahlia Lithwick? This is on her Wikipedia. In 2009, Lithwick wrote an article for Slate titled, "I Need a Hero, Seeking a Bomb-Throwing, Passionate, Visionary, Liberal Scalia for a Seat on the Supreme Court." In the article, she called for President Obama to nominate a person who was some cross between Rachel Maddow and Emma Goldman.
Ah.
Yes, so to answer your question, yes, MSNBC.
So here, let me get back to this slide. So they say that Alito sounded like he was spreading anti-vax madness, and the press would report that fact truthfully. So they say he was spreading anti-vax madness. This is Slate saying Alito was spreading. Do you see what I read to you? They're calling that anti-vax madness. I'm not making the point. I'm not making that point. I'm not making that point. There is a risk. I'm not making that point. That I'm making is the way cases are now discussed. This is Slate saying Alito, saying I'm not making that point that I make. They're pretending he is making that point when he wasn't making that. He wasn't saying vaccines aren't safe. He was saying they are, and he said they were. He said, but there are a small number of people who had adverse reactions. Correct. The Solicitor General agreed. They say that's misinformation. This is this is Alex Jones' medical misinformation. By the way, Alex Jones gets this better than fucking Slate does. I shouldn't be insulting. It'd be an insult to Alex Jones to say that he's as bad as them, because they're way worse. Because they know what they're doing. Government officials and Supreme Court justices can just insist that vaccines are safe and important and also dangerous and bad. He didn't say that. You guys are making that up. He didn't say that.
That's a real childish take on it. The reason I want to look them up is I want to see how young they were. And sure enough, it's like a millennial and a Zoomer. And that's the new way. What you do is take whatever somebody said and try to, on purpose, because activist journalists are neither activists nor journalists, it turns out.
Yes. Let me go back to this. Government officials and Supreme Court judges can just insist that vaccines are safe and important and also dangerous and bad. He didn't say that. You're making that up. Pick your own facts about the danger of COVID-19 and the efficacy of vaccines. It's your constitutional right to be for and against public health at the same time. This is about this. These guys, if there was any justice in the world, the people who wrote this would be in prison. Because if I spread this level of misinformation, I would be taken down by YouTube. This is unbelievable. There will be no penalty to pay for this. They'll probably get a promotion.
They're award winning, yes.
Some vaccine maker this is a great tweet. He goes, that I'm sure is going to be labeled a fringe weirdo conspiracy theorist, says there's no need for mandates. Just focus on the elderly and most vulnerable. What a crazy concept. And who is that guy? So this is from CNN. This is from CNN. He got this from his mobile, his phone. And here's what it is. I'll read it to you. A leading expert who helped create the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine said Tuesday that giving everyone in the world booster shots multiple times a year is not feasible. We can't vaccinate the planet every 4 to 6 months. It's not sustainable or affordable. Professor Andrew Pollard, the director of Oxford Vaccine Group and head of the UK's Committee on Vaccination and Immunization, told the Daily Telegraph. I think that guy knows more than Slate, and he certainly knows more than the goddamn Supreme Court does. So what are you going to do? You're going to mandate people get a fucking vaccine every 3 to 4 months? This guy, who's the head of the vaccine thing over at Answer, said you can't do that. In fact, he said he also stressed the need to target the vulnerable going forward rather than administer doses to everyone age 12 and older. More data is needed to ascertain whether, when, and how often those who are vulnerable will need additional doses. He's talking about targeting the vulnerable with vaccines. That's exactly what Dr. Robert Malone said when he came on this show 2 or 3 months ago. And people have been calling us anti-vax. They just kicked Robert Malone off fucking Twitter. And of course he's right. And now it's being confirmed by the guy who's the head of the AstraZeneca thing over in the UK. So, way to go, Slate. Thanks for giving me a huge lane again. And no other YouTuber has the nuts to call that kind of bullshit out. But I'll call it out. And by the way, I'll probably get in trouble for telling the truth. They'll never get in trouble for lying. I will get in trouble for telling the truth. They will never get in trouble for that lie. I bet they already got a promotion and a bonus.
Jimmy, you can see their whole philosophy with that is the reason it's madness. It's not whether it's the truth or not. It'll foment hesitancy if you admit, even though it's a thing they openly say, and because it's such a small chance, if you're one of those unfortunate people, you don't matter. That's what the hell they're saying. Like,
you don't matter.
We can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
That's right.
The classic philosophy of them.
Hey, come see a live Jimmy Dore show. We're in Los Angeles, January 7th and 14th. Then we're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Philadelphia. Go to jimmydoorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets and become a premium member to get access to all our premium videos.